Well, folks, here we are. Another year in the books, and what a ride it's been. From jaw-dropping moments in music and film to the internet-breaking drama we couldn't stop refreshing for 2024 didn't just show up, it showed out. Whether you laughed, cried, or rage-scrolled through the headlines, we've got you covered. Let's get started. It's the year-end wrap-up you didn't know you needed, but definitely deserve. Roll the tape.
Hello.
Howdy.
And welcome to Once More Unhinged, our weekly chat show where we get together to discuss whatever we're reading, watching, listening to, or otherwise engaging with this week. I'm Jen Katz.
And I'm Ryan Something.
What a year it has been.
I have consumed more content this year than any other year that I can recall.
You've been really doing the Lord's work.
I have been putting in a lot of effort for this podcast.
Would you say you're working late?
Yes, because I'm a podcaster.
You're watching shows.
And reading books faster.
Yes. Done. That's it. That's the episode.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So I have not consumed as much as I would like. I hope to get...
Okay.
Goodbye.
So sorry.
Yeah. But what I have consumed has been really great. 2024 has been... It's been an interesting year in a lot of ways, but...
Oh my gosh, it's been a year.
It's been a year.
Has it ever.
But a few of the things that got me through this year, other than doing this podcast with you, are some of the fantastic shows and books and movies and all the things we consumed. And I cannot wait to talk about them today.
This has been a great year for a lot of different content, from social media to film and TV series. There's been a lot of great books, good music. So... let's get into it.
So today we are going to present our top 3.
Yeah, these are our favorites.
What are we calling it?
These are a few of our favorite things.
Yeah, the top things we consumed this year.
Coming in at number 3.
This was hard to put last on any kind of list. But it's Shogun, the FX series Shogun.
So great.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we did a whole episode on it. We'll link it. It's a great episode and it's a great show.
FX.
One of the best TV shows I think I've seen in the last 10 years.
Golden Globe winner, or excuse me, Emmy winner. Multiple Emmy winner.
Yeah. Honest.
What a performance.
Bye.
Yeah.
She was so good. We won't go, another beat by beat, but it was so beautifully shot.
Yeah.
So beautifully written.
Yes, it was.
Beautifully acted. There was a lot of care. It felt like there was a lot of care and love and consideration and thoughtfulness put into that show.
Yeah, it's very artistic. And I think that's just lovely to see in a day where we consume a lot of content that is very easy and fresh and fun and short and sweet. Here we have attention to detail. This is true artistry from start to finish. This entire show, from the acting, the casting, the cinematography, the directing, the music, the writing, everything about this show really check all the boxes that you need for an epic series.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they intended for this show to have the reception that it did. I'm sure that they were hoping for it.
Yeah.
But it's now left them scrambling to figure out how do they fill this gap when there was no season 2 planned.
Right. Because it's based off of a book.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And they've announced that they're going to do a season 2.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. I don't know how you can hold a candle to season 1.
I don't either.
How do you create a season 2 out of not much? But I'm excited to see what they try to do with it, because these showrunners really did an excellent job.
Spoiler alert, all the things we're going to talk about, we are probably going to spoil. So if you haven't watched Shogun, maybe turn it off now, but come back after you watch it.
Watch it or listen to our episode on Shogun that came out over the summer.
Correct. But my concern with Shogun season 2 is there's no Anna Sawai. And
Spoiler.
I know. I mean, are we doing a spoiler?
I don't care.
Okay. There's no Anna Sawai. What's the story going to be? I mean, the acting is phenomenal, but I feel like Anna Sawai was just, she was so good and so amazing in that show. And she's not going to be there for season 2, spoiler alert. But we still have Hiroyuki Sanada, who played Lord Toranaga. We've got other amazing actors who could definitely carry a show, but you have a big hole to fill with her not being there, and I just hope they can do it.
Yeah, I would love to see more of that character. I understand that we can't unless we're going to go back.
Flashbacks.
Which it could. Season 2 could be kind of building up to season 1, which I think that's always a great way for a show to
like a prequel.
Instead of trying to create a story that happened after an actual story, give us a backstory into these characters. I think I think you have more to go with, and then you can bring back some of the main characters that you had in the first season.
Yeah. So if we did a prequel, because her story, we got glimpses of it, of Mariko's story with her father and her history with Toranaga.
They could do more of that.
They could.
That would be fantastic. Bring her back.
Please.
Yeah. And like you said, Hiroyuki, amazing. Yeah.
He also won a Golden Globe, right?
Yeah, they both
did.
I'm
sorry, an Emmy.
Yeah, an Emmy. Yeah. They both won Emmys, and then the show won a couple more.
Yeah.
Shogun, it's on FX. Mm-hmm. Be sure to check it out.
Please do.
All right, number 2. Okay.
I mean, I know we have good judgment.
I know we have good taste.
It's funny and it's ironic.
It is.
That only we feel that way. Just kidding. Okay, so yes, number 2, Ryan, what do we got?
We have Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet album.
We do.
Now,
hell yeah.
This was teased early in the summer with the worldwide hit Espresso.
I mean,
I'm working late because I'm a singer.
I mean, who wasn't doing that?
I mean, it was just the catchiest little tune. Little did we know that up her short little sleeves was this amazing album of horny songs for Brat Summer. It was so much fun. Mm-hmm. This album was on repeat in your car. It was on repeat in my car. It was fun. It was catchy. It was edgy. And it was just refreshing to hear a pop artist that wasn't just the same stuff kind of like regurgitated over and over and over and over again.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, it was, again, like you said, Espresso, song of the year, I would say. Yeah. I mean, it came out, last... I could look it up.
Maybe May or June, perhaps.
Might have been late April, because there's a video I have of me that I tried to make a TikTok of in a sweater singing it. So Espresso was like late spring, let's say, early summer. Mm-hmm. And then 2 months ago, SNL just did the Domingo. So as of this recording, it's December 27th. Yeah. In, October, November, they did the Hey Matt, came all this way, Domingo. Had to explain. Direct from Domingo. I mean, it's so catchy.
It is.
And that album, like you said, was just so fun, so horny.
Yeah.
And it was short and sweet. I love Taylor Swift. Well, yeah, I mean, we're coming off the Tortured Poets Department, which had 32 songs, 5 different versions.
I mean, that's an anthology.
Yeah, and it was great. We love Tortured Poets Department. We are not trying to just dump on Taylor Swift. I know that's a popular thing for people to do. And we're not trying to compare 2 women and who's better.
No.
It was just, that was such a big album. And then this came. It's so totally different. It was fun. It was light, short and sweet. I loved it.
They're 2 different type of artists. And, Taylor Swift is a hell of a poet and songwriter. Mm-hmm. And she has had so much success in her career over the past couple of years. This was Brat Summer, and Sabrina Carpenter. As you said, the album was short. It was sweet. It was fun. It was poppy.
Yeah.
It was energetic. And it really talks about or gave the energy of empowerment toward women.
Absolutely.
I think it gave something back to women in this sort of way that you haven't really seen since Madonna.
It was like you said, it was so horny, but in a fun way that wasn't trying to be horny and sexy for the male gaze. This is what I want.
That's it. This is what I'm into. This is what I like. Where art thou? Why not uponeth me?
One of the best lines in a song.
So many wonderful lyrics where she's talking about her own sexuality in a way that is hers.
Yeah.
And it's not for anyone else. And she's having fun with it.
Yeah.
And she's not ashamed. And she's very expressive in how she feels.
Yeah.
This young woman went through a lot publicly this year, which, you know, some artists and some celebrities could have really taken the ball and ran with it and made themselves some sort of a victim in some sort of way. She takes her power back.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I had a fun summer. I had a fun year. I met these cute boys.
Here's my Christmas
tried
special.
all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm going to keep going. And I love that for her. She doesn't really have anything negative to say about her exes as much as she just likes to kind of poke fun and just leave like little nuggets for you to try to figure out. You know, she's moving on.
That's it. And she kind of pokes fun at herself. It's
a very sex positive album. And again, I feel like
it's not serious.
It's not serious. It's fun.
It's fun.
It's light. It's edgy. And it's just something that I think really set the world on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, this album just took over. The same with Chapel Roan and Charlie XCX.
It was really hard not to have Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan, it's still on my rotation. You know, I was listening to it the other day. I'm just like, knee deep in the passenger seat. Is it casual now?
Oh my God.
What a brilliant song. Anyway.
Yeah.
All of these young ladies, but especially Sabrina Carpenter for really shining this year. She takes our number 2 spot.
She absolutely does. All right. So.
All right. Okay. Jenny.
Yes.
What hit your number 1 spot this year?
I mean, speaking of horny, everyone, we'll have to do a close-up.
I love this.
Our number 1.
It was.
Is Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire, the AMC series starring Jacob Anderson, Sam Reed, Asad Zaman, Delaney Hales. I can...
No notes.
The only note I have is to the fucking award shows.
Yeah.
But we can get into that in a minute.
Boo.
But this show, I mean, something has changed within me.
Yeah.
Something is not the same. I loved this show.
Go back, rewatch our episode that covers the show. I got into it and I was done within a matter of days.
Yeah.
I had binged both of the seasons, bought a new subscription to a paying service that I didn't have because I could not get enough of this show. The writing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The casting is excellent. The cinematography, where it's shot on location in New Orleans in the first season, and then parts of Paris in season 2, is just phenomenal. First off, Anne Rice wrote some amazing characters and some amazing stories related to these characters. So there's so much to dive into in her vampiric world.
Yeah.
Then you have these amazing actors who are beautiful people.
Come on.
Very easy to look at. And they really knock it out of the park. And they do it in a way that is just tastefully done. It is so well written.
It is. I mean, so season 1 came out, I think 2022, maybe 2023,
I think.
The first season aired on AMC Plus
October 2nd, 2022.
Perfect. Thank you. And then Netflix had gotten season 1 and it was on Netflix in 2024. I had heard of it because I'm a Jacob Anderson fan. I loved him as Grey Worm in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But I didn't have AMC. So we, the other day, were talking about our days as background actors.
Yes.
And I had just a memory jog of we got casting calls in our emails because we're on all these lists and follow all these different accounts that do background casting. And there were casting calls for season 1 of Interview with a Vampire on location in New Orleans.
That's right.
And we were kind of like, they can't redo that movie.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was so wrong.
Mea
and if
culpa right here.
anyone is listening,
we
I will
wrong.
fly to Prague to be an extra on the show because I genuinely adore it so much.
I would fly to Prague just to visit Prague. I love Prague.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, for sure, to be a background or any part of this series would be phenomenal.
And if they need to film any Vampire Lestat concerts, Austin is a great city.
That's right.
Just throwing that out there.
They just need some sort of hot sex scene with background vamps. I'm here for it.
You're so generous.
Sign me up.
Yeah. So when Netflix had it on, I remember, friend of the pod,
Yes.
Mavish, her sister Hibba, also friend of the pod.
Yeah,
Love
Hibba
you.
was into this before we
She
got
was
into
numero uno in the group, who was like, hey, everyone needs to watch this. I remember Mavish talking about, she's like, Hibba is trying to get me to watch Interview with the Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watched it and you were like, hey.
I was like, hey, if it's good enough for Hibba, it's good enough for me.
Hibba's got great taste.
I started and I couldn't stop. I told you guys, like, I watched it over a weekend. I think you and your husband and your family had gone out of town. I was like, what am I going to do this weekend? I'm like, I'm binging. And I started, it was over the summer. It was fantastic. I couldn't stop. And then I went straight into season 2 and all I wanted was more.
Yeah.
This was a fantastic adaptation of the Anne Rice novels. Very well acted. Of course, we just couldn't get enough of the eye candy on screen with all of these guys. But when you get to season 2, things go really deep and in some ways kind of dark.
Yeah.
But it is so compelling. The last 3 episodes of season 2 are some of the finest episodes in television history or series streaming history. And I highly encourage any of our listeners, if you haven't gotten into Interview with the Vampire, either season 1 or season 2, start it.
Please.
Because season 3 will be dropping sometime, I think, in mid-spring of 2025.
I don't know. I hope. I know they're in. I don't. Yeah. They're I think production just started. Like they just ended pre-production, so they're going to probably start filming soon. So mid-spring would be amazing. It's like I said, this show. When I finally watched it after you were like, hey, you guys need to watch it. Yeah. I blew through it.
You did.
And I just could, when a show or a book or a film or a song just gets you, that's how I felt. I was
you
in
were
that
multitasking
world.
With this because you couldn't get enough of it.
No, I was like,
I'm cooking and watching this on my laptop, and I'm you were, I think, even on your Peloton bike, and you were watching episodes of this because you wanted to go to the next one.
I wasn't going to wait till I could sit down in front of the TV.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it, like you said, it's just so brilliantly done. We did a full episode on it. Check us out if you haven't. But season 1 especially, New Orleans is a special place for us.
It is. And
to have New Orleans captured, it was its own character in season 1. Sure, it was so beautiful. I just can't. I can't get enough of it. I can't wait for season 3. I love Jacob Anderson. I mean, I have a framed photo of Sam Reed. I love Sam Reed as Lestat. Sam Reed is Lestat for me.
Lestat, yeah.
No offense, Tom Cruise, you're doing all right. He doesn't care what I think. But Jacob Anderson as Louis.
Yeah. And listen,
I mean, the man
is fantastic. And these two together, we talk about chemistry between people on screen, and, we're conditioned to respond to chemistry between a male and female actor.
Heteronormative.
These two gentlemen, in portraying the role of these two vampires who have this very tumultuous relationship with one another, have so much chemistry.
It's amazing.
It is just fine acting. And I think part of it is really goes to how genuine both of these individuals are as actors.
And probably as individuals.
People. Right.
Yeah.
So, no notes. It's our number 1 for this year.
With a silver bullet, with a wooden stake.
With a top wooden stake. They get our Buffy award. How's that?
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I, like you said, I don't want to just keep beating the dead horse, but it's similar to Shogun. The consideration and the thought and the care put into this adaptation has just been phenomenal. And I think the fact that Jacob Anderson was not nominated
is a shame.
It's a travesty. I think we have our very strong opinions about award shows and the bureaucracy and the politicking of that.
That's it.
And I think this is just another example of someone who's so deserving.
Absolutely.
I mean, season 2, like Jacob Anderson, the journey that Louis goes on, and like you said, those last few episodes alone,
he carries the show from start to finish. And here we have even characters, and Sam Reed did a fantastic job as Lestat. Anytime he was on screen, he would absolutely take all the air out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have someone who's nominated who wasn't even on screen for that long, and then you have another individual who carried the show for an entire season who had no nomination.
Yeah, so what we're referring to is, Sam Reed has been nominated for a Critics' Choice Award, and Jacob Anderson hasn't gotten any nominations. And like you said, Jacob Anderson carries the show.
He does.
And Lestat, Sam Reedus Lestat, is not in season 2 that much. And when he is, he's amazing, but
absolutely,
it's just
and
a
the build up to him coming back into that season was just phenomenal.
And again, shout out Assad Zaman.
Yeah, who is someone who's kind of a side character in the first couple of episodes, but as if you've read the series,
Real Rashid,
or if you're familiar with this vampiric universe, he is a major player, and I think we're going to see much more of him as we get into this 3rd season, which I'm thrilled about.
I can't wait,
because that character and his backstory, very heavy. All of these characters have really heavy backstories, and I love it. Anne Rice, phenomenal. What a gift.
I really hope we get to see Assad Zaman do a Southern accent again. My daughter was my sister, was my throat.
That was, that's the other thing. So quotable. There's so many moments in here where you just like want to go back and rewatch it because the characters are just spitting out these fantastic quotable lines. Again, the dialogue, the writing, the costuming, the sets, the locations, the directing, the acting, no notes. This was a phenomenal show, and it's why it's our number one.
Number one
in our hearts. Okay.
All right.
Those were our top 3.
Yeah.
Now, if you are familiar with our podcast, you know that we covered a lot of ground this year.
We did.
And we do have some honorable mentions that we just want to make sure that they're on your radar.
Yeah.
Because we would be remiss if we did not mention the following.
Quite.
Jenny, take it away.
I mean,
in no particular order.
No particular order. We have to shout out Blood of Zeus season 2 on Netflix.
We love Blood of Zeus. I don't know how you top season 1, which was phenomenal.
They did it.
They did it. The soundtrack, phenomenal. The voice actors, phenomenal. The animation, the storytelling in this, which is the telling of a Greek tale that has been lost in history,
right?
They say. Yeah. It's a fantastic fictional story about the gods and the demigods and,
the humans who are affected by all the fighting with the gods and the demigods.
Tumultuous relationship between all the gods and how they operate as a family and as a unit. It's phenomenal.
All right, Ryan.
All right.
What you got?
Well, along the lines of some fantasy fiction, we have most recently in October was kind of spooky season.
Yes, it was.
We had the release of Disney's Agatha All Along, which is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It is, starring Catherine Hahn.
Wow. Patti LuPone.
Oh my God, Patti
All-star
LuPone.
cast.
Yeah, I mean, we had a full episode on Agatha All Along.
We did.
Same like with Blood of Zeus season 2.
We both dressed in drag for a fun little TikTok bits.
I loved it. Yeah, I mean, look, it was phenomenal. Marvel, I've been a Marvel fan. I saw Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. in the movie theater. I have been locked in. Gotta say, my guys, it's been rough in the MCU for a bit.
It has. And they've tried to move from movies into like some short series on Disney. And I guess, did it start with
WandaVision was the first.
WandaVision, and then we had Loki and
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
We've had a few others, and WandaVision really
10
was huge. And so this is a continuation of the Wanda story.
Yes.
In the Wanda universe, I guess.
Because Scarlet Witch she's dead.
Allegedly.
The wickedest witch there ever was. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. But yeah, so Agatha All Along was so different. I mean, the MCU, like I said, it's been rough. They've been trying interesting things, which I appreciate, like a lot more female-led shows, female-led movies. And, fuck all the incels out there that can't handle it. Their criticisms are not fair. I have criticisms of a lot of the MCU stuff, even the female-led situations, because of the writing, the story, some of it's been just not great. Yeah. Agatha was well-written, well-acted, so gay.
Yeah.
It's the first queer kiss in the MCU.
Yeah.
And, Agatha and Rio, teen Billy Maximoff is in a relationship with a man. Like, it was so fun, but also serious and dark and spooky. And it was, I mean, such a phenomenal show. Catherine Hahn, like injected into my veins. She's so good as Agatha.
Yeah, all of them were fantastic.
Yeah, they were.
Everyone who acted in this, Aubrey Plaza, Patty
Oh
LuPone,
God, yeah.
The kid that played Billy,
Joe Locke.
Joe Locke, fantastic.
Yeah.
Which he's kind of a newcomer, and I can't wait to see.
This is his second acting credit.
I can't wait to see what other
or third
leading roles that this young man's going to have. But
gotta watch Heartstopper, my guy.
Such a fun show. It is a little dark at times. It's a little spooky. It just is a really fun series, and one that is truly touching. They did a phenomenal job with the writing. They wrap everything up in a way that you're just like, I have to go back and rewatch this because I missed all of these wonderful little what's the word?
Easter eggs.
Thank you. I'm looking for all these wonderful little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So speaking of witches,
this hurt to not be in my top 3, but I had to really look at like what.
Great show about all these lovely witches. And speaking of lovely witches, we cannot pass the opportunity to mention a film that came out recently that has taken the world by storm.
Yeah.
And based upon the Broadway hit musical, Wicked.
Wicked. Ever heard of it? Yes. Yeah. So this was really, really hard not to put my top 3.
Popular.
It's very popular. Wicked is phenomenal. The film is phenomenal. I almost replaced Shogun with Wicked.
Hey.
But I just couldn't because Shogun is so good. So I know people, and by people, my friends, our friends are screaming at us for not having Wicked in the top 3. Wicked is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I cannot say enough how much the soundtrack has moved me. I was crying by the time No One Mourns the Wicked.
No One Mourns the Wicked, yeah.
I mean, before it even finished. Because Ariana Grande as Glinda, her face acting, I was like, oh, we're fucking in for it.
Yeah.
It's so well done. Cynthia Erivo,
when she sings that opening number that she does by herself and she's running through the field.
When I meet the wizard. I know.
Goosebumps. It's just such a beautiful musical. The only note that I have is that I wish that they would have the second film queued and ready to go where we don't have to wait another year to see it, because I want to consume the rest of this while it's still fresh in my mind.
And that's part of the reason why, I mean, you brought it up, and I think that's where I was kind of my thought process was going. Why it can't be in my top is because, unfortunately, if they bungle the second movie, it's going to maybe make it can affect how well the first movie works. So
I'm optimistic.
I'm very optimistic
that the second film is going to be as good, if not better, than the first. I had not been familiar with the Wicked story. Hold on to your witches hats, everyone, and your brooms, because this musical came out after I had already gone off to college, and I was deep in study in opera, and I was from the school of kind of the older musicals, from the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, and so I kind of missed the new shows that were hitting Broadway at the time, like Wicked.
It came out in 2003.
2003, exactly. So I missed the show. I knew it was popular, and there, a lot of folks were singing it. I knew that it took Broadway by storm, and this was very popular in the musical theater world, but I had never seen the show until you took me to see it with you and your lovely daughters, and we had the best time. I was blown away. I cried, as you said that I would, and was really moved by this. And I hadn't really expected that sort of response.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about it and you're like, everyone responds to things differently. But truly, this is a phenomenal film that has such a great story that goes beyond this world. And it really transcends into the real world and what so many people go with or go through on a daily basis. And I love it. These characters are real. They're relatable. And these actors, these performers who put their heart and their soul into bringing this story to life is so compelling.
It is. It's a phenomenal movie. The performances are phenomenal. Yeah, like you said, I mean, Cynthia Erivo singing The Wizard and I sets the tone for her character. She just does a great job of showing Elphaba's humanity.
Totally.
And we did a whole episode on Wicked and Gladiator 2.
Mm-hmm. Check it
out. We talk a little bit about how Cynthia Erivo, as a woman of color, can bring an understanding of being othered.
Absolutely.
And that comes through.
Big difference.
And her fate, like her and Ariana Grande's, they act from the top of their head to their toes. They are Elphaba and Glinda.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Michelle Yeoh or Johnny Bailey or any of the other cast.
No, great.
But those two, there is no movie without Glinda and Elphaba.
Sure. All right. Wicked. One of the ones that that both of us liked that was lighthearted that came out recently was Nobody Wants This.
Oh, God.
Okay. What a phenomenal show. I started watching this. I didn't know what I was getting into, but everyone kept talking about the hot rabbi. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, my best friends are Jewish. I had to go watch this series. And what I found was this lovable, laughable, fun, romantic comedy that was real.
Yes.
And talked about issues that were relatable. It wasn't this fairy tale romance. It was adults having adult conversations. It was being genuine, being vulnerable, being authentic. I thought this was the best example of a positive example of adult relationships that I'd seen on film in quite some time.
Agreed. And they're still imperfect.
That's it.
Because I feel like you said it can be the fairy tale romance where there's no like real depth in communication. It's just like, oh, we're in love. And then there can sometimes be lately. And I know the intent is good, but it's so much like therapy speak. And it's so much we're you know, perfect. We're trying to achieve perfection. It's like, no, these are real people who still mess up, but they're trying to be open and honest and vulnerable and have good communication. And it's great. I loved Nobody Wants This.
I think you really have to kind of get to a certain point in relationships and even a certain age to maybe value the take that they have on this, which is, hey, we're not perfect. We have failed relationships, but we don't want to give up, and we're still interested, and we're a bit apprehensive to maybe get back into the swing of things again. But then there is the romance behind it, which is kind of a love at first sight. Like the two of them,
because that does happen.
The two of them meet in the chemistry.
Yeah,
but it's not that like head over heels Pretty Woman sort of like thing.
Oh God, we're gonna get married in a week.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean it's real. It's authentic. It's vulnerable. It's raw.
Yeah.
There are some very difficult conversations that I think we've probably all had at some point with a partner, or we should have at some point with a partner. And they do a very great job of expressing this.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very positive show to watch for relationship, you know, looking toward what relationships could be and what relationships genuinely are.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Okay. And finally,
here we go.
This is a show that I had mentioned. Well, two shows.
Once or twice.
I'm adding another.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
We're just going to wrap it up because this is the way that I have talked to you about both of these shows.
Mavish, help me.
Mavish, buckle up. Two shows that I recommended to both of my friends this year that I watched that I thought were phenomenal. One was 1923, which
starring
is Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, and it is the backstory of the Yellowstone family, this world of Taylor Sheridan's creation.
Yes.
Of the Yellowstone family, the Dutton family.
The Duttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hold on, we got some breaking news coming from the production desk.
Go ahead.
I have started 1923. I've got one episode left. So I have started it.
Jenny finally started it.
I did.
And hey.
And Ryan was right. It's a great show. It's a great show.
Then I can go home now.
I mean, Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren.
What's your take?
I'm shocked that look, I watched the first few seasons of Yellowstone and I really enjoyed them. Yeah. It is a cowboy soap opera. I liked it. Especially during quarantine.
Oh yeah.
Blew through it. It gets so insane. It becomes too insane. Taylor Sheridan, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. Landman is a hard no for me. So I was a little hesitant to get into another Taylor Sheridan property. I did not watch 1883, but this is a great show. It's well written.
Oh yeah.
Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford's relationship is so sweet, and you buy it.
You buy it.
You buy it. Brandon Skelnar, I'm butchering his name, as Spencer Dutton and his relationship with Alexandria.
Collis.
I
come on the podcast, respectfully.
Please, respectfully.
Yeah.
And then, yes, it's well written. It's well acted. It's a really good show. And then the whole storyline about the indigenous schools and how indigenous girls were, I know boys were too, but it focuses on one indigenous girl, were forced off of their reservations, off of their land, off their homes to go to these schools to basically have the native, the savage beaten out of them and to assimilate. It's brutal, but it's honest.
It's real.
And it's real. And it's a great show. I would, check out 1923.
The show is just a sweeping, beautiful, epic masterpiece of television series. I think that it's Sheridan's best work so far. And it's the writing, as you said, phenomenal. The cinematography, the locations, the costuming, everything about this show just lines up. Each episode would end, and I couldn't wait to just go into the next episode.
It's really good.
It's well done. So if you probably binge it over a weekend or take a week to process. What am I trying to say? Or take a week to watch the show. It's phenomenal. Curl up on your couch. Get cozy by the fire and throw on 1923. Also whiskey. I love a period piece.
I do too.
And this is just well done.
It's very well done.
No notes. Way to go. The other show that I harped on for the entire year and probably prodded you on the podcast a couple of times is Hacks on HBO.
Okay, how do you spell that?
HAFUC.
Yes, I have not started Hacks yet.
Hacks, phenomenal. Jean Smart won the Emmy for lead actress in a comedy series. The show was nominated for its writing. The writing is witty, it's fun, it's fresh, it's a wonderful take on comedy, and it puts, again, like so many series did this year, where it puts female forward. Yeah. Female leads, female cast, female writers. It's just a phenomenal show that is laugh out loud funny at certain points and gut wrenching, just a tear jerker at others, but in the best way, in the feel good ways.
Love it.
So highly recommend Hacks. And I know that Jenny will add it to our honorable mention after she's watched it.
I sure will.
No doubt.
Okay. So Ryan, that was it.
Jenny,
our top 3.
Such a fun year of consuming content and really covering all of these shows and films with you.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what 2025 is going to bring.
Me too. More of the same, I hope.
Please. Oh, hello.
Howdy.
You may notice we look slightly different than we did at the beginning and end of this episode. And that is because
I've been working out.
You're working late. I mean,
Don't know if you've noticed. No.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Get out of here.
We recorded the original Unhinged segment for this episode right when the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni drama started, where she, had accused him through the article the New York Times published of sexual harassment.
Yeah, the Times article was posted and, all the drama, the shit hit the fan.
Yes. Since then, though, a lot has changed. And so we wanted to go back and have this discussion again because it's still unhinged, but there's a lot more information that's come out. So
we're re-recording this update.
Yeah. So like we said, this all started December 20th, where she filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. And by she, I mean Blake Lively, claiming Justin Baldoni invaded her privacy when they were filming It Ends With Us, entering her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, pressuring her to lose weight 4 months after giving birth. Sexual harassment from him and his producer, and basically stating that his PR team did a coordinated campaign to destroy her reputation. The next step on the 24th was Justin Baldoni's former publicist, Stephanie Jones, sued him and the other two women involved in the PR campaign, sued them over an alleged conspiracy to discredit her and steal her clients. So that was like the next blow up. And then on the 31st of December, Blake Lively formally filed a lawsuit in New York federal court against Justin Baldoni, his publicist, Wayfair Studios, which is his production company, other defendants for retaliating against her for reporting sexual harassment and workplace safety concerns. All of the complaints are online. We're not going to go through everything here.
Right.
But, you know, she is very much claiming that she was sexually harassed and made to feel uncomfortable while filming this movie. And then on the 31st, Justin Baldoni filed a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, claiming libel for their reporting on Blake Lively's allegations, saying that they cowered to the wants of a powerful Hollywood celebrity couple.
Yeah.
And that they left out critical context from their reporting, and allegedly saying that they gave his team less than 24 hours to respond to their article.
And made note that he has plans to sue her.
Yes.
In the future.
As of this taping, he has not sued her.
Right.
So on January 3rd, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, I mean, have you seen this guy? He is a character. Brian Friedman.
I've seen it all in recent years. Rudy Giuliani. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So he goes on the Today Show saying that Justin Baldoni is going to sue Blake Lively, like you mentioned. Won't say what it's going to allege, but he's going to sue her. So now we've got all the lawyers doing we've got receipts, we've got stuff. Don't you worry. We're going to tell you. Just getting messy. And then Mr. Friedman's making the rounds. He went on TMZ and talked to Harvey Levin, who that guy is also fucking problematic.
Yeah, he's doing damage control.
Friedman has basically said that he denied that Blake Lively was a victim of a smear campaign, but instead that Justin Baldoni has been a victim of a smear campaign. And then Stephanie Jones, the publicist who is suing Baldoni, has now issued subpoenas to WhatsApp, Signal, and a couple other website messaging hosts, saying that an attempt to discover who has been behind posts and websites that were aimed at harming actors' reputations. So a lot has happened since we last spoke about this, but
yeah. And last night there was a New Yorker article suggesting that all of this reflects kind of a shift in Hollywood's response to harassment claims, indicating more of a cynical and divided landscape in the post kind of Me Too era. And like you said, it's kind of like in the laps of the attorneys now, which are, you know, spinning so many different things. You know, it's like two wrongs don't make a right. You know, they're sitting here just blasting each other from both sides. We're here to talk about first how unhinged all of this is. Yeah. And, you know, and then also kind of break down, you know, kind of get to the meat of this issue, which is the topic of harassment.
Right.
And particularly when it involves women and how people are perceived in certain circles of power.
That's it.
In Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know, it was very easy for us. And we've been on both sides of this issue. We've kind of been rolling with it as it goes along. When the issue first started, I remember we were sending each other TikToks back and forth. It was like, hey, where is Blake Lively? Where's Justin Baldoni?
Something's
He's been
weird.
unfollowed.
What's going on?
Something is amiss, right? Something stinks in Denmark. And it did. And we knew it. It did not pass the smell test then. But immediately we were shifted into the narrative, which the New Yorker article, you know, quotes. These are narratives being given by both sides. And, you know, we went through the entire loop. It was, oh, well, Justin Baldoni's a really good guy. He's got a podcast where he talks about toxic masculinity. He's got a book that I read and bought and purchased for your husband.
And he's read some of it.
I think that it was, and my therapist, and it was, you know, great information in there. It was very revealing about who he is as an individual and the things that what his early life looked like, what his marriage looked like. It was a very self-reflective book, but also a bit of kind of like toot toot, I'm a good guy, I'm the good guy narrative.
Yeah.
And so there really is some good context and content for young men who've grown up in traditional masculine upbringings, and it's kind of the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Very patriarchal.
Toxic
and so it was
masculinity is absolutely a thing.
It's this great book, and he's going around and promoting the film in such a way where he's talking about the victims, and he's putting their story in the narrative of the book and the fans first, versus Blake, who at the time had launched her
hair care line.
Hair care. Get your florals, girls.
Right.
Yeah. Hanging out with Taylor Swift at the football games. And, it just seemed like a huge disconnect. Something was amiss here, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. Like you said.
We were sending TikToks back and forth, trying to like look for the little clues because we knew something was not right.
Correct.
Now we know.
And we all got, I'm saying we, because I got wrapped up in it as it came, as the film premiered, and it was very obvious that something had gone on because Baldoni's over here, she's over there. Like you just said, she's Grab Your Florals Girls promoting her hair care line, promoting Betty Buzz, her alcohol mixer line. Yeah. And he's talking about the serious nature of the film, domestic violence. This narrative starts coming out on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere that Justin Baldoni was being bullied by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
He was pushed out of the film.
Right.
All these things. And so everyone's dumping on Blake Lively.
Yeah. Well, we all start looking at it and we're like, well, we started seeing videos of how she handled herself in interviews before,
which
where
weren't
she
great.
Made this interviewer essentially cry and want to quit her job.
Yeah.
Now I would push back
as someone who's been pregnant.
Right,
I don't want people, even if you're being nice, sometimes you're like, I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to say something that I don't want to offend anyone. And it's like, hey, just don't comment on someone's body appearance,
even if it's positive. Just don't.
Just don't say anything.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got absolutely piled on. Blake Lively did.
She did. And then we got news that Ryan Reynolds, her husband, had actually, I guess, rewritten an entire scene, I think, of the film.
Yeah.
And so you start like raising red flags. And it's like, wait, what business is it of his to come into this production? This is Justin Baldoni's production studio with Sony. Who gave him permission to do that and why? And so there's just all these like questions that are swirling.
Some people have said she's difficult to work with, but I always,
or she's cold, or she's
abrasive. But I always kind of give that a little bit of a side eye because as many of our favorite women have said,
as women throughout centuries,
if you are not compliant and sweet and kind, you're a bitch and you're difficult.
Problem, right? You're a broad, as they say in the New Yorker article. She was essentially seen as, this difficult woman, or someone that was not just like, your typical starlet or pushover, I guess. I don't want to say pushover and cut that.
No, but I know it's not pushover, but it's like the agreeable.
That's right. Yeah. And it looks like, according to what's been filed and what's been made
alleged.
Public.
Yes.
That's been alleged that, she's filed this lawsuit. And, it's this entire scenario is unhinged, but not for the reasons of just the social media buzz of it all and the back and forth, although that is completely unhinged.
And I think we got by the information that was happening online, that we now know is maybe a little bit more nuanced. And we have to remind ourselves, especially in this day and age,
PR spin was put over accountability.
They, even in the, allegations that Blake Lively makes mention of his PR team talking about the narrative. And he's so lucky people haven't picked up on these complaints. And it's, I get it. They have a job and they're doing a job. But we are the people who are the consumers of this content. And it just makes me feel gross.
Yeah.
And I didn't exercise my critical thinking. And I think we all have to do a better job of that. And on that same token, right? You need to be critical with what she's saying as well.
Yes.
I'm not saying everyone needs to like dump on anybody without knowing the facts, but I think at this point, we all, before any suits were filed, before any allegations were made, we all jumped on this train of hating and dumping on a woman without any substantial
right
evidence to the contrary. Blake Lively could be abrasive. She could be rude. But that doesn't mean
that we have to victim shame someone who's actually been victimized.
Correct.
It's the erosion of the Me Too movement in a very cynical internet world where there's a lot of misinformation. And I really think that the movement, or just in the thought in general, has got to be recentering on the victims' voices.
Absolutely.
Strengthening accountability, fostering a culture that actually prioritizes respect and fairness over your image.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're getting lost in the sauce.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing even more pushback against women who come forward. And I think at the end of the day, no one deserves to be harassed, assaulted, or made to feel uncomfortable, no matter what your personality is.
Yeah, that's really the takeaway. We have to uphold professional boundaries and respect in the workplace.
And you know what?
No matter what your job is.
Exactly. And I think at this point, it needs to be litigated. If the court finds, if there's more evidence that's uncovered that's in Justin Baldoni's favor, that exonerates him, I'm happy to believe that and happy to like go move forward. But from now on, I am not going to jump on a train based off of what people on TikTok say.
And that's it. You're addressing the concerns without, and that's what Baldoni's team should have done. They should have addressed the concerns without retaliation. I think it's important for transparency. So, release the information that you have without taking your PR team to the smear level campaign of the narrative, against people who are voicing grievances. She's voicing a grievance. It undermines the trust and perpetuates a culture of fear and silence. And that's the other thing. How many other actresses have probably put up with that or might in the future? And now they're going to see exactly the cost of this to Blake Lively. How much is it going to cost to hire attorneys and file a lawsuit and go after the New York Times?
And her reputation may never recover.
Her reputation might never recover. I mean, for the first, last few weeks, we've been kind of like, Blake Lively, ick.
Months, Ryan I would say, Reynolds. Since summer.
Since all of this really started. And I think a lot of that had to do with what
His
we're
PR
seeing.
team.
Yeah, now we're seeing the, how all of that got started and how it's so easy to be manipulated by
we are manipulated.
What we are seeing online. It's so important, especially in this day and age, to have all the facts, to not jump to conclusions.
Because look, I two things can be true, because this is what I see online, right? A lot of people like, she's just trying to restore her reputation. This is her ego. I'm sure that's part of it.
Totally. I mean, that's her career.
That's
her
her career. But she could also be a victim. And it seems like
two things can be true. Clearly something was off.
Yeah.
It's really none of our fucking business.
Really
but
not.
There is an important lesson that can come out of it. And I think we're all getting a really important lesson of what happens when you jump to conclusions, when you don't have all the information, or when the information that is revealed isn't complete.
Right.
Or is done so in a way that has a spin or a narrative on it. I mean, we have to be better.
We have to be better.
We have to be better. It's just, it's really disappointing, as I mentioned the first time we talked about this, from a standpoint of trying to look for men in Hollywood in leadership positions in a world where so much of it is focused on, leaning into or doubling down on traditional masculine narratives and positions. And, to find someone like Baldoni, to hear what he says on his podcast, to see how he handled himself through the press tour with all of this, swirling around him, and really focus on the movie and the victims, and then to read his book. And there's so many great takeaways. I'm not saying don't read it, because I think it's great, but now, no, go in with a spoonful of sugar. Now, kind of like, the philosophies and the techniques and the conversations and how revealing that biography, basically, for a better term, was great. And so it's so disappointing now to see the person who you were not really idolizing, but someone that you were looking to for hope and feeling like, hey, there's other men like you out there, or there's a there's a better dialogue and discussion that you can have with your bros and your friends, and you can be more vulnerable, and you can be more understanding and talking about everything from relationships to pornography on the internet to what makes kids learned behavior from an early age, from the people who are closest to them. All of this is just great information that we need to be talking about.
Correct.
And I so appreciate him talking about this, but this adds a whole new level of what feels almost like gaslighting to himself and to everyone else around him and those who've listened to his podcast and read his book. It's my understanding the podcast has been canceled. Is that right?
His co-host is left.
She's co-host left. I'm ready for him to stand up and be the person that he says he is in his book and address this and take accountability and take responsibility without victim shaming. It'd
be nice.
It would be nice. And I think hiring a PR team to spin that for you might be the Hollywood way, but it doesn't make it right. And we're seeing that now. They could have handled themselves a lot better.
They could have.
Thanks for having this conversation with me. I know it's very difficult for someone who, has experienced trauma and felt sexualized. And, I think it's really important that we have these conversations when we talk about it.
I agree. And thank you. I know you, like you said, you alluded to in the last bit of the conversation, and this has been a big disappointment for you on just that level of like someone you looked up to. And that always is, it's a really hard blow. So thank you. I know this was a sticky one. But
thanks for listening to this conversation.
Yeah. And thank you for listening to Once More Unhinged. These episodes come out every week. And you can watch and listen on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Google Play.
Right. And please follow us on social media. We are at Once More Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. And of course, you can listen to us on Spotify and YouTube.
Yep. Unhinged is produced by us. I'm Jen Katz.
And I'm Ryan something.
Bye.